Hi there. I think it's time we had another ghost story, don't you? Okay. Now this one is from a few years back as well. I've got so many in my archives, it's unbelievable. This one comes from up in Lincolnshire on the east coast from a place called Mablethorpe. So you've got Skegness, Chapel St Leonard's, and you go on to Mablethorpe. A chap called David, he was driving through Northampton, and he'd heard me on BBC Radio Northampton and contacted me later and said, I've got a ghost story for you, but I think you should come up and see where it was, where the actual ghost appeared. So I decided to drive up there and interview him, and this is the story. I got up there one morning in summer. It was lovely, and had a look around before I met David, and there's a beautiful stretch of sand, golden beach along there. It's absolutely beautiful. And smallish town, you know, typical seaside town, really. Anyway, I said to David, where should we meet? And he said, let's meet in the Fullbeck, just off Quebec Road. As you go up to the T-junction by the seaside road, it's just to the left. Anyway, we met there, and we are having a couple of pints, and I wanted to know a little bit about David first. So I asked him about himself, and he said he'd lived there for about 30 years. And he'd seen quite a few changes of the place, and he'd seen the loss of the Ferris wheel on the fun fair on the town front. And he said the caravan parks have got bigger as more and more people have come into the town. He said, but you know, it's got to change, otherwise it will die. And then we, over another point, we started discussing what had happened to him. And he said, tell you what, he said, let's finish our point. He said, and I want to show you exactly where this happened. He said, and tell you the story. I want to set the scene for you. So we finished our pint and we took a stroll along Quebec Road. It's about a mile long to the caravan park and about halfway along is a chippy. So anyway, we started strolling along there. It runs north out of Mablethorpe. And he said one winter he was on a push bike driving out north along Quebec Road, and the rain was hitting his face so hard and the wind was so strong he was struggling to just push bike straight. And he said he could hardly see a hand in front of his face. And he said as he drew towards the chippy, he got towards the chippy, he heard the sound of horses' hooves approaching fast from behind. And he said they'd got this clatter with them he didn't recognise. So anyway, he kept on cycling, and this sound got so loud that he turned his head, and just bearing down on him were these 4 grey horses and a carriage behind it. He said, and his front wheel hit the curb, his bike flipped over, he hit the curb, rolled, scraped his hands, his knees, went down really hard. And as he lay there, he said this 4 horses and this coach was going by. He said, and there were 2 people up front. He said one had got the reins and one was hanging onto this. He said it looked like a bit of a handbrake on the side. He got both hands on it, pulling at this handbrake. He said, and he looked at him. This second bloke, the nearest chap, he said he looked down at him with the most evil expression on his face. And he just said, make way there, fool. And it's actually make way there, fool. And David said it just sped past. He said it was so loud. And David looked there, he was still laying on the path, and he looked up and the rain was still hitting his face. And as he looked, the coach got about 20 yards away and just dissolved into nothing. Now, he said he's been, let's say, 30 years he's lived there. He'd been along that road time and time again. He said absolutely nothing before. He had seen nothing like that before. And he tried to do a little bit of research about the place as well, about the history of Mablethorpe. He said he'd got a bit of history, he said, but nothing to do with coaches and 4. He said he didn't even know if Quebec Road was old enough to have a coach and 4 going along it, and why. So anyway, By that time, myself and David had reached the chippy, so I stood him a fish and chips, and we walked back to the pub, had another pint, and we had general chat. And I said to him what I'd do when I get home. I'll start doing a little bit of research, and then I'll get back to him and give him as much information as I could about the history of the road. So anyway, I spent the rest of the day in Mablethorpe after leaving David, and enjoyed the day. And then later in the evening, I drove back and went into history mode, discovering what was going on. And Quebec Road was a salt road used to carry more or less goods backwards and forwards, the salt. But I could find no reference to a coach travelling backwards and forwards in that direction. It's no need to say it wasn't. It probably did, but I could find no reference to it. But I told David the history that I'd got about the place and about the salt road. Quebec Road was a salt road, and it was a salt road at the time a coach and four would have been passing. So that's the ghost story about Mablethorpe. If you ever get up there on holiday or anything, go along to Quebec Road. I don't think the chippy is there anymore, but the house is certainly there, halfway along, and that's where the ghost story was. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll see you again soon. Bye.